So sometimes you go to bed and then you wake up and you realize some stuff. For example, I realized that last night we never closed the other half of those pipes. So I shall do that now. All right, we closed the right pipes. We never closed the root pipes. So after we're done, we got to close these, or else the pipes will still exist and we'll be leaking operating system resources. So let's make sure that still works. Well, it appeared to. It did an infinite loop. Do we still have our other... Let's put back our crazy test here just to make sure. I mean, if you close handle on something invalid, it won't do anything that bad anyway, but... wait, I did type... command/C type. Yeah. So we got a big string back. It's all good. Let's check it in. Let's update just to make sure. Fixed. Remembered to close some sockets. Now I want to go look at bug 175 that got filed. So we import math, we call abs, and we get overloads. Seems to be because abs is defined inside a static if block. I'm not sure exactly why that would happen, but I'm also not that surprised. Okay, we're not seeing the int version. So the int version is not getting added to the overload list. Let me see. Let me see. I thought we fixed that, but maybe we broke it actually when I thought we fixed it. Abs. Okay. Yeah, so abs. We're not adding it to the overload list, which is just an internal data structure. We probably broke that in the stream the other day because I was editing that code heavily. Or maybe it just never worked right. Okay. So it's a static if on line 55. So we want to go to accept block. Then we say static if line number is equal to 55. Well, yeah, we're not going to announce anything about games anytime soon. Sorry. With The Witness, we announced it a little bit early, and then it was like 5 years after we announced it before the game came out. A little less than 5 years. But actually, maybe more, depending on what you count as the announcement. So we don't want to do that again for many reasons. Especially just because, hey, the environment's changed. Why does Twitch tell me when people... You know, people like go watch the videos and then they try to write exclamation point commands to the chat bot because it looks like the text is live. And then those get sent as private messages to me, like Twitch is so broken. Okay. Okay. But E3 is coming up. And so you won't get good information about our next games at E3, but lots of people will have things to say about what's coming out. What a pain in the butt. You don't strictly need to do this since it's a data scope. I don't know why we're doing this, but I'm going to make a note to profile accept block. Because this could be expensive and it might be easily fixable. Okay, run to cursor. There's one statement. That is no surprise. That statement is this. Because we're on OS Windows. We remove it from the scope. We make a new declaration. That's a copy. It's marked as inserted by static if. Is it exported? 211010. Yes, it is exported. We steal queuing. Does not belong to a struct. So this whole new statements thing, we didn't need to do. Like, we're not using this. And I gotta rename is global scope because it's slightly misleading. I should call it is uncontained scope or something. Okay. So, I believe checked add to scope is what should add this new declaration to the overload list. That may not matter though. Okay, that actually doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because this scope that we're inserting into is not the one that we see from out here. The one that we see from out here is the exports. So down here when we say maybe export declarations is maybe what's going wrong. But let's set a breakpoint and register overload. And see if we get there. Because we should, even though this is the one we can't see. Okay, boom. Yes, we do. Okay, so the one inside math is getting registered as an overload. That is good. We're not completely broken, right? So this is happening in check for redeclaration. Okay, so now, however, all right, we've added this guy to scope, whatever. That's fine. Now we're done with those. Now we are maybe exporting declarations. We have new declarations. It does have one thing. We have no name mapper. Oh, we have a special case, but that's... Wait, what? Wait, what? Now I'm very confused. Why are we only doing things if there's an... If there's overloads? Oh. Okay, here's what's going on. This faulty logic right here. What I'm saying is, so what happens is when you have things that are overloaded, they're just stored in a list on that declaration. And when I export something that is an overload, in the interest of being efficient, I just overload everything or you know, export everything on that list. But then I'm saying, okay, if this isn't an overload of something else, then export it. If it is an overload of something else, I'm saying, then it must have gotten exported here. But that's not true, because what happened is this happened first a long time ago, and then we added it to the overload list. And then we get here, but it's in the overload list. So, I mean, so there's two ways of solving this. One is I could have a force flag here, but I don't know that's going to solve anything. The other one is I could just have another flag on a declaration saying it's actually been exported. It seems like a slightly messy solution, but I don't know. What do people think? Does anyone get what I'm saying here? What do people think? The reason I don't want to put a force flag here is, I mean, maybe it's the case that other people do this same pattern with the static if. I don't know. Like, it seems like a bad thing to be very sensitive to the order in which things happen. The issue is bug 175, in which we don't seem to call. There's all these versions of abs, and one of them is an overload, and it doesn't get correctly detected by the rest of the program. So the reason I don't want to add a declaration flag that says, hey, we actually got overloaded or exported is just like, do we really need that complexity? So which one do I do? Or is there a third option? So when we do a using, we also do a similar thing. Maybe export declaration. What do we do there? That's what we're looking at right now. This is for a load directive. That's what we're looking at right now. And so very few people call this routine. I'm just going to put a force flag on it for now, and I'm going to comment with my reservations. Comma. Oh. No. You know what? Force flag won't work. Because you could have things happening in the other order. So, okay. Let's see if we have any declaration flags left. It's a 32-bit flag value right now. Okay, 1248, 1248, 1248, 1248, 1248, 1248. Oh God. Oh, we've got 2 declaration flags left. Okay. I could rather than declaration is exported, I'm going to global search and replace that to make it a different name. I'm going to say declaration wants to be exported. And then I'm going to make a declaration has been exported. And then I'll explain why I did that in a comment. Declaration is exported. we are replacing with declaration wants to be exported. Replace all. Yeah, only 13 occurrences. All right, and then while that's happening, we will make okay, so okay. I'm totally in the wrong file. Where are we going? Maybe export declarations. Where the hell is this? It's in interp. Okay. We say if, no, not, if it is set, return. Okay. So then we set it. And we say down here, decline to export it because it would have been handled in the true branch of this if, but there were problems in cases like resolving if blocks, wherein we would add a new declaration to an overload list, then call this routine. During normal parsing, if we call this routine, it's with a bunch of declarations that were all created in one batch. So any overload list is newly created, and either all or none need to be exported, but that's not true if comes along and adds dudes later. Maybe a better solution to this would be say inside if handling to track somehow when declarations, we don't need to know somehow, we know how to do it. When declarations get to overload lists and export them separately. Seems real messy though. So we have a flag instead, but that seems too complex also. Okay, that's my note. Can I explain what I mean by a force flag? I just sort of meant you can add an extra parameter to the function that says, you know, if you call it with this flag true, then skip that check about whether someone's in an overload list or not. But the problem is, I don't think that would have worked. Now the question is, will this work? And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, it'll probably solve this problem, but did I break something else by adding this flag? I don't know. Well, repro compiles. So let's compile Sokoban into a debug compiler, which will take a long time, but I want to see if it asserts or something. No. It didn't assert. I'm going to take out this result code thing. Why is that still in there? Let's get rid of all that stuff. Let's run that again, just because I changed some code. What does the eye tracker do if you cross your eyes? I don't know. Do I look like I make eye trackers for a living? Why are you asking me these questions? Why do you expect me to know anything about eye trackers, or anything for that matter? Yeah, it definitely has a setting to track only one eye. Like you can pick if you want only left eye or only right eye. All right. And run tests. I wish the frickin' people who make this stupid shell would have some tests so that they could stop having this null value bug. It's so annoying. Look at that. People. Okay. Fix bug 175. We only have one declaration flag left, though. That kind of sucks. I might have to go on a mission to reduce declaration flags. Okay, I was going to do this thing in accept block. Because we're doing all this. Okay. So we were just doing this thing where we add new statements and do this found statement index, right? And we only use that if it's a contained scope. So I think that I can get rid of this CPU usage right here. So we do two things. We say new statements and we say found statement index. So new statements. Okay, that's only if it's a contained scope because of this up here. And same here. You know, for code like this, you really want a thing to somehow control the scoping of this variable further. It's kind of weird. Because I only want this to be in scope at certain times. But I guess if I could descope it, yeah. Anyway, okay. Now what? Now what? What was the other thing? Oh, found statement index. Well, if we don't have statements, we're probably not using this, but yeah, okay. So it looks like we just got rid of a little bit of work. Well, I guess I have to not declare it inside a scope. Oh, did I delete the declaration? Maybe whoever invented Lua was called Nil. It could be. Maybe the name of the programming language Lua was originally Nil and then they changed it. Okay, let's just try this out. It seemed to work. Let's run the x64. It's a little faster. Not noticeably faster, so it's not like we saved a ton of CPU there, but hey, we might as well not do work we don't have to do. And for bigger scopes, that matters more. So it would end up mattering for some programs probably, or scopes with a lot of static ifs. And a big scope with a lot of static ifs, that would have mattered really a lot. So, you know, it's like order n squared in number of static ifs or something. So remove extra work that if except block was doing. And then I have a note that I want to add profiling in except block, and that sounds reasonable to me. What color do I want to make it? Yeah, let's do this. Whoops. So that's what we wanted to do. All right. So the bug list is once again at 0. The known bug list. There's certainly unknown bugs. The known bug list is at 0. Except I have a note from last night that I want a better error message. Where was that? Was that? Right, I had this in a procedure, and I was trying to use a bunch of things in that procedure, and it wasn't complaining. And I don't know why. So let's fix that. But first, I'll make some tea. Any questions about what I just did? Any questions? It was magic, you don't question it. Well, that's great. Favorite tea is, as always, Bengal Spice. Come on, people. Okay, while the tea is heating up, I'm just going to paste this. And I'm going to say some routine has all this inside. It should not be legal to do what I'm doing in there. Let's see if it complains to me. Nope. So I broke something because that totally used to complain. What if I make a really simple, what if I go back to my tests here in 174 and I say not a closure, print P1 is P1. What if I do that? We're supposed to get told about that. We don't. Okay, well, that's a real simple test case, because you know what we can do here? We can just get rid of all this stuff. Like, actually, rather than edit this, because I told Abner, like, hey, man, there's some stuff in here to put into official tests. So rather than mess with that, let's just make a new thing. Okay, that compiles and doesn't assert. But it still shouldn't compile. We should not be able to access P1. I'm going to put P1 on its own line number so that we can break. Hey, look at that amazing value for P1. So this used to work, that we would detect this, and it doesn't work anymore. And the reason it doesn't work is because unlike all these other tests, so all these tests that we have here, sorry, I have to go back to this and take out this, because obviously that's going to screw people up. So all these tests, they're tests of successful code, right? We don't have a system for testing whether we generate error messages for incorrect code. And so it's easy to have regressions for things like this, where you're supposed to get an error message. It's supposed to fail to compile, but it doesn't, right? So I want to build a test suite for that. I mean, ideally, you want a test suite that claims that things do good error messages, but I don't know how to do that because we change error messages a lot. And so you don't want to compare the text. You know what I'm saying? Could the infinite while loop be written without true? Yes, but who cares? I mean, you're sort of just introducing a way for people to make a mistake if you do that. Like tiny syntactic things like that, I really don't care about. It's, yeah. Unless they open the way to some radically better expression when used somehow. Like, but little syntactic conveniences don't matter. How often do I use recursion? I don't know. How often is often? I mean, I use it sometimes. I don't use it sometimes. Okay, we're going back to our test 2, which should not compile. This identifier is at line 8. So I'm going to go to resolve one ident. Well, let's look at where this error message is supposed to be. Closure. Attempt to use variable from an outer stack frame. Closures are not supported. So let's set a breakpoint at line 5386 for ident line number is equal to, what do we say, 9? 8. Let me make sure about that. Yeah, 8, 8. I'm often wrong about these for some reason. Oh, not release build. Stop it! It wouldn't be so bad if that Windows sound was not so goddamn hideous. They make it worse every time. They hired the summer intern to make the Windows sound, to help brand the new version of Windows, and it's just always even more awful than the last one. You criticized use of recursion a couple streams ago. Yeah, I mean, recursion is often not the right thing, but it's often the right... So recursion is almost never the fastest way to solve a problem. So if you want to make efficient code, it's probably not recursive. But it's often a lot easier to write a recursive solution, right? There's less bookkeeping because the compiler kind of does a lot of it for you. So that's the thing. Okay, so we have this identifier. Let's check to make sure it's the right one. Ident void, this is in the wrong file. Ident file name. Ident line number. Okay, it's not surprising that other files have things on line 8. String, string builder. Windows UTF-8. Oh, we're running the wrong thing. We're running bug 175 repro. We want bug 174 test 2. Basic, string builder, string. Windows UTF-8. Bug 174. Okay. It should belong to a lambda. Oh! Hey, remember if anyone was following that stream where we added lambda body? That's what broke this. So we have to consider lambda or lambda body God. Sound effect. Sound effect. Okay. Attempt to use a variable from an outer stack frame. Okay, that's not good. That's from our own arguments block. because yeah. We need to. So now it's like, oh, my resolving outer is the body, and the resolved is the header, but they're the header for the same. So we have to do something more complicated here, and it's going to be interesting. How do we make it not that complicated? It's a good question. Okay. I'm going to say auto outer expr equals resolving outer expression. Canonicalize to headers to make comparison easier. So if outer expr type is equal to ast lambda body, outer expr equals static cast ast lambda body, outer expr header. Okay. Outer expr so we can get rid of this thing that I just did. So belongs to lambda is always a header, right? Belongs to lambda. Yes. Lambda header is still called ast lambda. Okay. Okay, maybe that works. Look, people telling me how to configure Windows don't even like, I don't bother configuring anything about Windows because it resets itself all the time. And I use like 19 different computers in my life, and keeping them all up to settings would be more of a hit on my quality of life than putting up with the stupid shit, right? Okay, so once again, I have to rant about this once in a while. When I buy this operating system, what I am paying Windows for is to do the work so that I don't have to go do all this work to make it reasonable, okay? And they continually fail to do that. I'm not interested in spending my valuable attention keeping all my Windows machines, because it's not just that setting, it's 372 different settings that you need to set, and I just don't care. I'm not going to do it. I just don't care. Can I compile on Xbox One without a huge headache? I presume it's not that bad to compile on either Xbox One or PS4, actually. But we haven't tried it yet, so there may be issues of reality that we need to deal with. Okay, so this is good. Test 2 is good. Test 1 should be fine. All right, let's try debug build on the big program. I will cross this off my list optimistically. Look at all these crossed off things. All right, run that. Let's build the release compiler. Disable the Windows customer experience in group policy. Yeah. Okay. So that is done. That is done. That's important to fix because it's a very easy mistake for people to make and they'll go crazy. Okay, I think that's all that I'm going to stream for now. It's been a nice little hour stream, right? 53 minutes. What a nice little short stream. We fixed at least 3 bugs, right? So we fixed that error message I just did. We fixed the overloads for static if not working correctly, and we fixed not closing the handles in that run process library routine. So that's a productive stream.